Oh, hey there. Come on in. We're just about to start. Welcome to My Wife the Dietitian, a fun weekly podcast about nutrition and healthy lifestyle. I'm Rob, and together with my wife Sandra, we invite you to join us on this informative and entertaining journey through the complex world of healthy eating.
Join us each week as we strive to help you with transforming your overall health and relationship with food through up-to-date, evidence-based nutrition information. I don't have time for myself. There's so much to do. If I rest, I'm being lazy. When I think of myself first, I'm being selfish. Take care of yourself is something we all hear all the time. But do we know how? It may require a bit of a mindset shift to learn how to actually make time for self-care and peaceful practices. Today we're talking to counselor Alden Carroll, social worker from Peaceful Practices.
When they start to implement the very practical and simple techniques that we explore together, their lives really start to transform.
Listen in with Alden Carroll. Stay with us.
Enjoying the show? You can help others find it and enjoy it too by giving us a 5-star rating or review. If you feel like reaching out to us with a question or comment, you can send us an email at mywifetherd@gmail.com. And don't forget to visit our website at mywifethedietitian.com, as well as our social media pages. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Enjoy the show. Welcome to My Wife the Dietitian. Hello, Sandra.
Hi, Rob.
How's it going?
Good.
Awesome.
We have Alden Carroll on today, and she's got Peaceful Practices. She's a social worker, counselor, and helps us with self-care.
And has a lot of different ideas about how to go about that. So that'll be interesting to talk to her and see what she has to say.
We should all take care of ourselves.
Absolutely. Yeah, we forget sometimes. So Alden is here to remind us.
Looking forward to this.
Awesome. All right, let's go find her.
We're so excited on this happy, sunny September morning, and we're talking with Peaceful Practices, Alden Carroll. And we'd love to know, Alden, can you explain who you are, what you do, and who are the people you help?
I would love to. Thank you so much, Rob and Sandra, for having me on today. I'm so happy to be here. So my name is Alden Carroll, and I am located in Tucson, Arizona. And I am a therapist and coach, and I have been providing support and services to people in the mental health world to support their well-being for going on 23 years.
Wow.
I've worked in a lot of different settings, but in the last few years, I have had a private practice. And so I was working and I still have a private practice where I work individually as a therapist with people who live in Arizona, but I also work providing coaching services individually to people internationally, different states and different countries. And I wanted to be able to reach more people. And so last year I put together a curriculum that I have been actually teaching to mental health professionals and different community members in in-person trainings for a number of years, which is where the Peaceful Practices came in. And it's really exciting to be able to support people. My main focus in all the work I do, both on my small group coaching program, but also individually, is I'm very passionate about helping people move through stress in their lives in a different way. So having a series of very practical strategies to take the stress out of their lives so it's not having as much of an overwhelming impact, and also for them to feel that they have techniques and tools as they're moving through their busy lives, and to help lower the stress response in their bodies, and also to develop deeper self-compassion, self-care practices, regulate their nervous system through somatic body-oriented approaches, and emotional and nervous system technique strategies so that they feel more present in their lives and they ultimately can be living their best lives where they have a peace of mind. And my vision that I want people to have about how the different things that I offer them will help them is I want them to be able to wake up with a smile on their face and be able to feel grateful about their day and be able to take on their day with ease instead of with stress. So, in a synopsis, that's a little nutshell of what all the different approaches that I teach people. I really want them to have more ease in their life, more connection to pleasant experiences, a better relationship with themselves and their loved ones.
I
Amazing.
love that. Wow. Wow. That's a lot of work.
Yes,
That's wow.
and I love it.
I bet. I bet. I mean, it's just, I feel like, over the years you hear that some people are morning people or some people are, night owls and then they wake up grumpy. And I love that your whole guiding principle is, or your, what is it called, Rob?
Like your vision, I guess, eh? Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, my mission, my
Yeah,
vision,
yeah. You're
my hope, really.
Yeah, is that people
Mhm.
wake up with a smile on their face and feel grateful to take on their day
Yeah,
with ease instead of stress. Because I think
yes,
so many people these days are, the first thing they do is they scroll through Facebook or Instagram or listen to
yes,
the radio, and it's
right.
doom and gloom, and it's like it's all
Uh-huh.
negativity. And so to start
Yes.
your day that way, it just kind of frames the rest of your 12 hours or your 24 hours in the
Mhm.
rest of the day is pretty negative. So I love that you give people some techniques and tools and strategies to help with reframing their day
Mm,
and feeling
mhm.
gratitude. I love
Yeah.
it.
so important.
Mhm. It really is. It transforms people's lives. It's really remarkable. I feel so grateful watching the evolution of both my coaching clients and therapy clients when they start to implement the very practical and simple techniques that we explore together. Their lives really start to transform and they start to feel, the inner critic voices that they have that are, criticizing themselves that oftentimes developed when they were younger for helping them to, get through that time in their life. Once that starts to shift, and once people have very simple strategies to lower the stress responses in their body and to have connection to gratitude and different practices that help them take on their day with ease and also just feel more connected to the present moment and kind of get back into their body in a pleasant and positive way. It's really powerful, and I feel so grateful for the work that I do, and I love it.
That's awesome. What
That's so
what's what kind of age groups are you working with primarily?
So that's a great question, Rob. I work with adults. So I work with adults that are, I work with a lot of different people. So I do work with a lot of adults who are between 40 to 75. And I also work with a smaller population of young adults and families. And I also work with couples. So
Right.
it's a wide spectrum of people, but there's some kind of ongoing themes of stress in their lives and needing to increase self compassion. And these techniques and practices can be helpful for people of all ages, really. And also, I love teaching parents about how to implement these nervous system and emotional regulation skills with their kids or their
Absolutely.
loved ones because it can be really powerful help for them as well.
I can
yeah.
I can see the married couple. It's almost like a little meme where the wife is like trying to, practice these techniques on the husband, and he's just
Uh-huh.
trying to watch the football game or something. That's.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yes, I actually really love the dynamics in couples counseling
I
or
bet.
couples coaching, relationship coaching. It's really beautiful when I start to teach these practices and kindness and compassion and how to help people reconnect to love and
Yeah.
respect and like kind of the heart of their love for each other outside of what's kind of avalanched on top of that oftentimes.
Right.
unhelpful patterns of hurts or, getting caught up in the day to day. But yeah, it's doing so intentionally when they're not watching football, or when people are have the ability to actually be present and take some time to do it, is very helpful. It's important
Absolutely.
to, yeah.
It seems like it would be helpful to be teaching this to younger people, because it's almost like a
Mm,
preventative, like it needs to be a preventative
yes.
technique rather than coming to you
Hmm.
when they're, quote unquote broken. I'm stressed, I need help,
Right.
versus learning these techniques. And it's great to hear that you're teaching parents, to teach their kids how to use the tools that you're teaching.
Hmm. Well, yeah, I originally, in my earlier part of my career, once I graduated from my master's program, I worked with children and families who had actually the children or young adults had been removed from their families due to neglect or abuse.
Right.
And so I was really in the trenches in that way. But I did see how trauma informed care for children and families and parents was so vital. And I love being able to support parents in having a vocabulary of exploring these techniques to people. And you had said that when people come to me, that they oftentimes will say to me, I feel broken. And I always like to share with them, you aren't broken, even though it may feel like there are parts of you that are. It's that there are these wounded patterns and these different parts of you that need tending to and nourishment, and kind of taking the things that maybe were, painful to you and properly healing them, and honoring that past lived experiences or even traumas are impacting how you're experiencing things now. And the beautiful news about all of that is that nervous system regulation, somatic approaches, shifting negative thoughts to being more positive and helpful, it allows for the brain to heal and for the physiology to heal. Our brains and bodies are there's neuroplasticity, and we can create new neural pathways with a lot of the techniques that I teach people. One of the things I love teaching people is the emotional freedom technique, and that actually creates new neural pathways in the brain where there are these new belief systems that are positive and self-compassionate. And so, yes, teaching kids this stuff, teaching parents to have this ongoing language in their families is so powerful. And it's just really helpful for us to have these techniques, so that even if there are parts of us that feel broken, so to speak, that really honoring, well, of course, this is really hard for me because those lived experiences were really hard and they impacted my nervous system and my stress responses. And I can learn things that will help me feel better and take the edge off of that and make it less intense, and to ultimately really heal those patterns. It's really powerful.
That really is. That's amazing. I didn't quite realize that there was sort of I guess it's a physiological response to these techniques. Like that it
Uh
changes
huh.
your. That's amazing. That's really fascinating.
It is really amazing because one of the things that I talk a lot about in my coaching program and individually is the actual physiological stress responses happening in our body, so people understand I'm not crazy. Like, this is
Yeah.
actually my physiology responding to either to stress or to previous things that I've lived through that maybe were really hard for me or traumatic, and that we can change those responses by supporting our physiology to release the, let's say, so the responses of flee, fight, and freeze, which many people may be familiar with, but
Hmm.
it's biologically what you see out in nature and animals, but it happens within us too. And physiologically and neurologically, when that flee, fight, or freeze or stress responses in our body happen, there are ways we can move through that so we can get back to a place of the parasympathetic part of our nervous system, which is the rest, restore, and digest. And the flee, fight, or freeze is the sympathetic part of our nervous system, which is when we're having stress responses of clenching or tension in our bodies, or feeling heat or discomfort or unpleasant feelings. We can move through that by supporting our bodies, our minds and our spirits to move through that and take the edge off so we can be back in a space where we feel like we are okay and safe. And
Right.
it's really remarkable to watch that unfold with my clients.
I bet. That's so rewarding, hey?
Mm-hmm.
I guess maybe I'm going to skip ahead to our second question I had for you, not the first one, because I want to bring that back. But you're already kind of talking about the physiological and the stress response, and I'm just wondering, what role does breathing and meditation have in helping reduce stress?
Oh, I love that question, Sandra. So, when we have a stress response in our body, and oftentimes without even having an awareness of it, when people are living in a stress state, when they're moving through the hustle and bustle, dealing with responsibilities, maybe having, negative thoughts about themselves or worrisome thoughts about their lives, what ends up happening is because our brain is preparing us to either flee, fight, or brace and freeze, our breath becomes shallow. So we are not taking deep abdominal breaths. We are breathing very shallowly. And so, one of the things that is a very powerful way to regulate our nervous systems is by inviting in deep, intentional breaths so that we can actually help bring back online the more settled rest, restore, and digest part of our brain and our nervous system. So, a really helpful way for us to do that is to invite in nice deep breaths where you inhale as deeply as possible. And then you pause at the top of the breath as long as you can until your body knows it's time to exhale. And then have a nice full exhale out your mouth, and maybe even inviting in a sigh, because sighing is very regulating to our nervous system. But bringing our attention, by the simple act of bringing our attention to our breath, and inviting in a nice deep breath where you're actually pausing at the top of the breath with a nice full exhale out, what that does is it helps to regulate our nervous system and reduce the stress response. And there's a lot of research about a counted breath, and the count is 4, 7, 8. So it's an inhale of 4, a pause at the top of the breath of 7, and then a full exhale of 8. Now, for a lot of people, when they are kind of more stressed in their lives, doing that breath maybe sometimes makes them feel lightheaded, or it's like, oh, I can't really, pause at the top of the breath, or feel like I'm holding my breath that long, or I can't quite get that much of an exhale out. And that's okay. It's really good to practice and build up to that. But really, the most important thing about that breath, the research is that it helps for the body to go from the sympathetic or the high alert system of the flee, fight, or freeze back to the parasympathetic, which is the rest, restore, and digest, where we're able to, be connected to our thought process of rational thinking and kind of problem solving, and also just to feel more settled. Because when we are in a stress response, all of the blood that helps our digestive system goes to our vital organs of our heart, our lungs, and our brain. And so that oftentimes will impact people's digestive process. And so when we are really stressed, as you all I'm sure have talked about in your podcast, it impacts our digestion and also other parts of our physiology. So by breathing deeply, it really can help shift that. And it's a very simple thing to do. And so as you're working up to the counted breath, or sometimes people don't want to count their breath, right? They're like, I just want to breathe in deeply, right? Being able to just focus on breathing in as deeply as your breath can go, as much air as you can bring into your lungs, pausing at the top of the breath as long as you can, and then trying to have the exhale be just a second or two longer than the inhale. And that,
Oh, I have a question.
yeah,
Um,
of course.
yeah, so with the inhale, pause, exhale, is it like mouth, nose? Is that any, or you can inhale however you want and exhale however you want, or is it?
Specific? That's a
Yeah.
great question. So the ideal is that you breathe in through your nose and you pause at the top of the breath, and then you breathe out through your mouth. Now, let's say somebody's having some nasal congestion, right? Or they can't easily breathe through their nose. That's okay. You can still breathe through your mouth and get the same benefit.
Okay.
But actually breathing through your nose is really helpful for our parasympathetic or our rest, restore, and digest part of our nervous system. So oftentimes if people are breathing more through their mouth, it's really good if they're able to physiologically and have a clear nasal passage to actually really focus on breathing through your nose, because that reduces the stress response in our body, interestingly enough.
Wow, that's really interesting. I thought I heard something about that and I didn't. That's good. I'm glad you explained that because yeah, I guess it just signals to the body to slow down if you're breathing through your nose. Because if you're breathing through
Mhm.
your mouth, you might be like, I'm just thinking prehistoric, like running through the forest, your probably mouth is open and you're still
Yeah.
in that stress response. But if your like mouth is closed and you're breathing through
Mhm.
your nose, I don't know.
Mhm.
Just thinking, I'm curious in how that all works. But the other thing that I had a question or a statement about was when you said it impacts people's digestive process. I totally see that. And I think a lot of
Mhm.
people are, eating on the run and they're
Yes.
multitasking and they're
Right.
dashboard dining, eating behind the, steering wheel and they're in
Yeah.
like traffic. And so they got road rage and they're eating
Yeah,
and their body
sure.
doesn't even know that they're eating. Like they haven't given the
Yeah.
time to savor the food and then they're
Yes.
not even chewing well. They're just kind of gulping it down. And so their poor
Yeah.
body, it's like, is that really eating? That's not eating. You
Yes.
need to actually like sit down and like just give your body some rest well before you even start to eat, just because it's like this is something that your body has to do. It's not like a mindless activity. It's something that
Right.
you have to think about and to have those digestive juices flowing and so that you're not
Uh-huh.
in that state of fight and flight, but you're actually in the
Mhm.
whole as you said, the rest and restore and digest. I just love the way you described that, like the whole sympathetic to parasympathetic. It's just such a good visual, like of I'm just thinking
Mm.
of running through the forest and then
Yeah.
stopping and then feeling safe and okay, now we can
Yes.
eat. So
Exactly. I feel like that kind of sense of kind of historically, or I guess, evolutionarily, the breathing through your mouth and the nose, and then the mindful eating. I think that I know that I'm a therapist and coach, but I talk a lot about with my clients, very much in line with what I'm sure you do, talking to people about how to nourish their bodies with whole foods, and also to really honor the process of eating mindfully, or even in a present way, where you are able to not have any distractions and you're off your devices and you're just sitting and savoring the taste and the colors of food. Because what a sacred gift for us to be able to have food to nourish our bodies, and to really, it is very nourishing if we allow ourselves the time to savor the tastes and enjoy the colors, and the abundance of being able to eat, and allowing our bodies to really be slowing down enough in that eating process that it is really a nourishing thing.
It really
um
is.
yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
And just the fact that, like, looking at the screens, like you said, I mean, that causes
Yeah,
stress. It's kind of like,
it does.
we didn't have screens prehistorically or evolutionarily, generations ago, but now that's our stress. Like, that's where we're looking at things and our brain is focusing on those messages or whatever we're seeing in the media or whatever. And
Uh-huh.
that's causing that stress response. So we might as well be in the forest running from a
Oh,
prehistoric
tiger.
tiger,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, that's why unplugging and actually there was a,
Yeah,
practice of, like, putting the phones in a basket at dinner time and everyone come to the
absolutely.
table and, like, actually sit and
Yep.
talk to each other and not looking at their
Yeah.
phones. Like, it's such a big part of just nourishing our body and our relationships
Mhm.
and everything. So, oh my gosh.
Yeah, especially, yes. One of the things I actually talk a lot about with parents and families, especially the young adults I work with, and also just families, about that routine of putting the devices down. Like, unless there's an urgent thing that we're waiting on a call that's really urgent, put them down, because I think that that is something that has been lost. People sitting in front of the TV to watch, to watch a show while they're, having a meal. It's also a relational thing where you're not spending time really enjoying the time with your family or having conversations. And sometimes families need some support about what that can look like, right? And oftentimes I'll offer ideas about, checking in about what people feel grateful for and sharing that as a family, or something that helped them have a smile on their face that day, and giving some kind of guidelines about what are some things you all can do as a family to increase kindness and connection. But definitely during meals, I think that that is very important. And a lot of the couples I talk to, devices are very much a barrier in their connection. And so we talk about having some boundaries around devices and being plugged at, like unplugging from that, because it's like you were saying, it's very stress inducing. And also like being on social media and the scrolling creates a kind of dopamine or feel good hormone hit that's not really natural. And so I think in the different ways that we nourish ourselves, especially first thing in the morning and an hour before we go to bed, it's really important to not just hop right on. And I have to say, I sometimes do get on Instagram, do some scrolling first thing in the morning. And then I'm like, Alden, you can be doing some mindful breathing or listening to a meditation. And Sandra, I didn't get to the meditation piece, but I'll just say quickly, one of my favorite resources is an app called Insight Timer, and it's totally free. So it's Insight Timer, and you download it, and there are thousands of meditations that you can listen to that are ranging in time and topics, that have music and that don't. Their courses on there. And I am not being paid by Insight Timer to say this. I've also
Right.
thought maybe I should partner with Insight Timer.
No doubt.
Totally.
I promote them a lot, but I love listening to their meditations, oftentimes in the morning or at night to kind of wind down, which I know includes my device, but I'll usually flip it over so I'm not seeing the blue light of the screen. But meditation also can be really simple, and it can be about being in the present moment, helping the elevator that gets stuck up in our head and our worrisome thoughts or our busy thoughts, and bringing that elevator back into our bodies, as simply as feeling your feet on the ground and being aware with your senses of the space around you. And that's meditation, right? Because oftentimes there's an idea of meditation being, I have to take a seat and not think anything and just focus on my breathing. And sometimes that can be really beautiful and nourishing, of course. And that more formal meditation can be so beautiful of a practice. And also, you can just tune into your senses and invite in a few breaths. And that is a form of meditation. And it can be very regulating to your nervous system, even if you're doing it for 5 breaths, right? Like in the morning, you wake up and you invite in 5 deep breaths. Think about 5 things that you're grateful for, and your day is going to feel a lot better.
Yeah, I love that. Is that one of the, because that was the other question, is how can people build habits into their day to help learn to manage stress? Is that one of the habits that you would suggest?
Yes, absolutely. So I was thinking about that, and I talk with people a lot about different daily habits to just nourish their mind, body, and spirit, right? So I think oftentimes when we wake up, we might feel really hurried or rushed and needing to kind of jump up from bed and get going. And sometimes that's necessary, right? But I think that oftentimes really taking time in bed before you wake up and transitioning from the dream state to your conscious awake state, and really feeling the support of the bed underneath your body, inviting in nice deep breaths to balance out cortisol levels, which is the stress hormone in your body, and thinking about things that you're grateful for is really powerful, because when you are tuned into gratitude, even if you were having anxiety or sadness or anger or an unpleasant emotion or sensation in your body, it takes the edge off of it. So maybe those other unpleasant things are still there, but it is really hard to feel them with as much intensity if you are connected to gratitude. So being able to think about things that you're grateful for, maybe you write them down, maybe you just think about them, can be really helpful. And then also my daily routine is, and I think a lot of people don't necessarily do this, is hydrate, right? Drink water. Also, I think people can just think about, what is my intention for the day? And that can be as simple as, I am going to do the best that I can, or I am going to be compassionate to myself today, or I am going to do my best. This might be a little bit more woo woo, which I love, but maybe it's not a good fit for everybody. But one of the things my husband and I talk about is, our ability to shine our light and love in the world is what our intentions are oftentimes. And we text each other our intentions in the morning. And oftentimes it could be that, which is a little bit more, rainbows and unicorns, but it also can be really beautiful to think about, how do I move through the day in the best way that I can? So I think intentions are helpful. And then lastly, I mean, there are so many things I could say, but very simply, being able to, in order to get that elevator from your head back into your body and into the present moment throughout your day, taking a breathing break. And really, like, let's say you're in front of the computer all day long, or you're running kids from one place to the other, or doing laundry or cooking, or, meeting a deadline at work, whatever it may be, taking a pause. And it may even be helpful to put an alarm in your phone or a reminder on your phone of breathe. And really do the breathing that I was talking about earlier, but then also orient to your senses and the present moment, and ask yourself the simple, silly little question of, where are my feet? And really feeling your feet either on the ground or putting them on the ground, maybe stepping outside and feeling your feet on the ground and looking up at the sky. But really, if you're in an office setting or in the car, even asking yourself, where are my feet? And noticing the texture of your feet on the ground, your socks, your shoes, wiggling your toes, and just noticing what it's like to do that. And it really helps to take that elevator from your head down into your body, and helps you to feel more grounded and centered as well. And you can also do that with a tactile object, noticing the texture of your pants or your outfit, looking at the space around you, what's to your left and the right, what's above you, what's below you. And that can just provide a recentering, settling to your nervous system, and reduction of stress response, and just being more present and embodied.
I like the way you said that, like the elevator analogy. That's bang on. It's basically just bringing you back, right? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, because I mean, so often you're right. We're out there and we're not centered, and we need to be. And
Uh-huh.
especially nowadays, our lives are so busy. We're running like a million different ways all at once, and
Right.
yeah, it's so important to bring ourselves back to being grounded and sort of paying attention to how we're feeling and why we're feeling certain ways. And yeah,
Mm-hmm.
great advice.
I think that for so many of my clients, they are like, I just have so much noise in my head, or I'm so distracted.
Totally.
And a lot of the practices that I teach them in the Peaceful Practices program, or individually with coaching, helps for people to have more quiet in their mind and be able to just feel more peaceful and calm in their bodies,
Yeah.
and be able to have that peace of mind and some tools to help just kind of slow things down a little bit.
I think there's so many people who need the tools. They feel the issues, they feel the
Uh-huh.
stress, they just don't know how to deal with it, you know?
Uh-huh.
And yeah, giving them a few
Absolutely.
tips and it can make a huge difference. So that's
And this is
amazing.
a whole other tangent and a whole nother podcast, but I'm sure a lot of ways people deal with it are with alcohol, with drugs, with
Yeah,
eating addictions, like with
Oh yeah.
sweets, with,
absolutely.
I mean, all those ways that, I mean, that is, that's just human nature to deal with it by escapism or,
Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
absolutely. And I do work with a lot of people who've had trauma in their past, or just a lot of stress. And so, yes, I think that is a whole nother podcast. Um,
Totally.
Yeah, but these tools can help people, even who, if there is a history of addictive patterns that are not helpful for them, and they want to develop healthier ways of relating to their bodies themselves, food, balancing out ways to feel better without those kind of addictive patterns. Absolutely.
Nice. So we had one last question for you. We ask all our guests is if you are going to go to a potluck dinner, what would you bring?
Well, I love that question. And honestly, I don't eat gluten or dairy. So
Okay.
I know that oftentimes potlucks may be very rich and there might be foods there that I don't know what's going to be there, right? So one of my favorite things to bring to a potluck, because it's simple to make and also delicious and nourishing to me and other people, is a big fresh organic salad with a
Yum.
lot of amazing vegetables, a homemade vinaigrette maybe, I always like to bring that because no matter what else may be there, I know that I'll be able to nourish my body and also the people who are there. So that's really kind of my go to because it's nice. It's fun to make. I love colorful vegetables and preparing everything with intention and love. And oftentimes the people at the potluck really are like, oh, thank you so much for bringing a salad. Because there's like so
Totally.
much macaroni and cheese or, sweet stuff. And so I think that is my favorite thing to bring.
That's
I love
awesome.
it. That's awesome. That's kind of how, yeah, we just brought a beet salad just last weekend to a potluck we went to, and I love
Nice.
salads. It's just nice because you're right. A lot of times it's the meat or it's the main dish that people bring, or desserts or the appetizers. I mean, it's
Yep.
all of those things are part of a potluck, right? So it's nice to have the
Yeah,
salad, and that's awesome. Oh,
absolutely.
well,
Yeah.
that's good. Oh my gosh, your information and this has been so enlightening and just oh, I think everybody's going to be breathing heavy and taking pause and being more present today after
I
listening
hope
to this.
so. I hope so. That is my biggest passion in the world is for people to be able to have, breathe with more ease and be more present and self compassionate. And that's why I'm so excited that in the blog on your website that I have a free resource that I would love to share with your listeners that delves into more of the stuff that I was talking about. And I really want to share this information. The guide is De-stress and Feel Calm, 3 simple steps. And with these 3 simple steps, it really works. And
That's
they're very
awesome.
helpful because they're the things that over all the years I've been working, they're the 3 things that I really start as the basics that I teach my clients. And it's a really nice resource that's just helpful and free. So people can hopefully benefit from that as well as potentially other things I may be able to offer.
Awesome.
Oh, that blog was awesome. Like just that you contributed to for the website, and we'll link it in the show notes here. And it's just it's so helpful. I mean, just summarizing the conversation. And I mean, I think we had even more in the conversation than what's on the blog, but there's other things on the blog too. So, but I'm really happy that people can click on that link and get that free resource and just get some practical, simple steps to help with de-stressing and feeling calm and just in
Mm-hmm.
their day. And that's the bottom line, is just how can people be more present. And I feel like Rob and I today have been impacted, and we are going to be able to take this with us through our day and our weekend and just feel more gratitude and just realize, like, this is a journey, and we
Mm-hmm.
don't have to get so caught up in just all of our to-do list and all that.
Yeah. Absolutely. And so thank you. And I'm glad that we were able to talk today. And if anybody would like to speak further with me, there's also a link on your website to have a complimentary discovery call in other ways that I may be able to support them. And there's also this October, November, I'm going to be starting my 7-week peaceful practices program where I'm very excited about it. And I love the way that it positively impacts people. It's an affordable way for people to learn all of the things that I've been teaching my individual therapy clients for years, but it's a small group cohort. So there's a beautiful community component as well. And each week, people will learn different things very similar to what we've been talking about, but a lot more in depth. And at the end of the 7 weeks, people will have these amazing series of skills so that they can wake up with a smile on their face feeling
I
ready to
love
take
that.
on their day with ease and feeling a more beautiful, self-compassionate relationship with themselves, knowing how to have a more balanced relationship with work-life balance and their loved ones and relationally. And so that program is going to be coming up soon, and it's 1 hour a week for 7 weeks. And then there's a special bonus at the end of a live Q&A with the participants where we can really kind of explore any other lingering things that they want to know, and they get to learn some other tidbits and special tips. But it is really exciting to be able to have that opportunity to teach people these things in a community environment where they're learning. And actually every single week we are practicing in person. I'm guiding people through different practices to feel better that day, that week. And then they kind of build on each other. So there's this multidimensional mind, body, spirit series of tools to help them feel less stress, help them feel more present and positive about their lives. And I'm really excited to be able to offer it. So if it would be of interest of anybody, the free resource is a great place to start. And if you'd like more tips and support around that, there are options to be able to contact me to speak further. So I'm really excited to share these resources with people.
Awesome.
Awesome.
We will
Yeah, that's
definitely include those in the links in the show notes rather, and a link to your website. It's aldencarroll.com, is it?
So my website is Alden Carroll Counseling.
Counseling, right?
Yeah. So my first name Alden, my last name Carroll, and counseling Counseling. So aldencarrollcounseling.com. And
Perfect.
that's a great way to learn a little bit more about me. And even if I am working with people internationally, I provide coaching. And so, but they can learn a lot more about me and what kind of work I do and how it may be able to help them.
Perfect. Well, that's great. It sounds like an amazing resource. So we will definitely direct people that way. And hopefully you can touch some more lives.
I would love that. I want to spread all of these techniques to as many people as I can to make their lives feel like their very best lives. So
Right on.
love it. Yeah. Oh, thank you so much, Alden. This has been really invigorating and lively and interesting. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast today.
Well, thank you, Rob and Sandra, for having me so much. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks again for joining us.
Well, that was cool. It's good for people to hear that.
Yeah. It's not directly food related or nutrition related, but it's obviously health related, and they all affect each other. So it's good to, like she said, to take care of yourself and follow some of those tips that she gave. And I was doing them as she was talking. It was kind of funny. I was really focusing on my breathing. And
yeah, that's great. So people can check out Peaceful Practices and Alden's links in the show notes and click on that for your free guide. And also check out the blog article that she wrote. It's awesome.
Yeah, a really good article there on the website. It's mywifethedietitian.com.
I'm all calm from the breathing exercise.
Yeah, .com. That's funny. I wonder if anyone's done that. Like a
.calm.
Yeah, like a yoga website or like a meditation website.
That's a good idea.
That's kind of funny. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us today, everyone. I hope you guys got something from that. I hope you enjoyed it. And on Wednesday, we're going to be doing, just to follow up with this episode, we're going to be doing another little gratitude,
it's a guided meditation.
Yeah, with Sandra.
My voice.
Sandra's going to lull you to sleep or lull you into a meditative state for your little Zen time. So we'll do that. That'll be the Nutrition Nuggets Wednesday. And if you've listened to them before, you'll remember that they just they start and they finish without any other. We're not going to tell you to check out the website or anything. So it'll just start. It'll be that. And enjoy it. But now we are going to tell you to check out the website. We already did. And then email us if you have questions or comments. And YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, that's our social media places.
What's our email?
Our email is mywifethed@gmail.com.
Perfect.
Yeah, for all your questions and your fan mail and all that sort of stuff. And don't forget to rate and review the show. That's always helpful. We always appreciate that. It doesn't take very long to just scroll down and click on hopefully 5 stars. If you're enjoying it, that would be much appreciated. And like I said, Nutrition Nuggets will be Wednesday, and then we'll have another full episode next Monday. So enjoy your week, everyone. Enjoy your little Zen time with Sandra on Wednesday, and we'll be back next week.
Thanks, Rob.
All right. Thanks for joining us today on My Wife the Dietitian. If you like what you heard, don't be shy. Leave us a comment or review, and be sure to share our podcast with your friends. If you'd like to hear more, hit that subscribe button. You can also follow us on our social media pages for updates, episode trailers, and other odds and ends. For more info and links on what we discussed on today's episode, check the show notes. We'll be back next week with another informative and fun-filled episode.